Fractals and JOMO. Hello, fellow Mavericks. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Ordinary Maverick podcast. Have you heard the term fractals and JOMO? Well, they are unrelated terms, both coined at different times in history and with different contexts. But in true Maverick spirit, we see a connection. And we will speak of that soon. But first, let's understand a bit more about each of them. Regardless of where you are in the world, as December appears on the calendar, you start thinking of Christmas. It's kind of the same thing whenever there's any major holiday coming up in places we live, but it's pretty much global for Christmas and the soon to follow New Year. There's just something in the air. People are more relaxed, looking forward to the holidays. The lights and the decorations in the streets, in the shops and in homes adds to that extra festive feel. And of course, the Christmas trees and the pine cones. You know it's autumn when there are fallen leaves and pine cones on the driveway, in your garden, or on the hillside of a holiday destination. We live in the woods, and walking in this beautiful lush green forest is a daily activity, including seeing the forest floor strewn with pine needles and pine cones and fallen leaves through autumn into winter. One of the added perks of living in the midst of the woods is seeing nature so very closely through all the seasons. A real treat, no doubt about that. Until recently, I must admit, I didn't pay much attention to the types of pine cones. Yes, there are different ones, and each one comes from a different tree. It's only the cone that falls from the pine tree which is truly the pine cone. The rest are just cones from that tree, like the western hemlock cone, the western red cedar cone, the Douglas fir cone, and the ones we see in abundance in our garden, the Sitka spruce cones, which is native to the Washington state. Now, pine cones protect the seeds and keep them safe from weather extremes and animals until the seeds are mature and it's warm and dry enough to release them to grow into new trees. Critical function, right? But an intriguing thing about pine cones or cones is the element of fractals. Fractals is spelled as Fractals. These are never-ending geometric patterns that repeat themselves at different scales. What this means is that even a small part looks like the whole cone. Pretty fascinating, huh? Blending complexity from simple rules and basically repeating a process infinitely. It's like there are deep structures in seemingly chaotic systems like trees, coastlines, and our lungs. Fractals carry deep meaning and are increasingly being studied in cancer research and in modeling studies. They can provide insights into perception, can connect math with nature and consciousness. The more I thought about fractals, I started looking for them and found them in the most bizarre yet ordinary places, like, for example, pineapples, broccoli. Have you ever observed the patterns of the broccoli floret? Check them out and see how they reflect similarity. One sees them in ferns as well. Speaking of ferns, brings back a distinct memory, the Fern Gully in Jamaica. It's a natural wonder, a fascinating 3 miles long stretch of road, winding, scenic, when you feel you have entered the fern wonderland. Over 300 types of fern and other plants and tree life are in abundance here. I will never forget the first time we drove across Fern Gully. It was like paradise, so moist yet dry, with every shade of green one can imagine or think of. So beautiful that it's difficult to describe. The magic of nature never ever goes away. Fern Gully was a riverbed which disappeared after an earthquake in 1907. The river stopped flowing and over time that became the road in between, the Fern Gully. It's like a natural tunnel where you're surrounded by trees, When we lived in Jamaica, we traveled through Fern Gully many times en route to Ocho Rios from Kingston. The excitement of the passage through Fern Gully was enhanced by what was coming at the end of the road. The Ocho Rios waterfall, one of the few waterfalls that one can actually climb from bottom up. And climb it we did many a times. Another experience of waterfalls, but one that all of us fondly remember. Mavericks, if you are in Jamaica, do not miss the Fern Gully and the Ocho Rios waterfall. Coming back to cones, the Douglas fir cone is quite distinct. It has these paper-like bracts that extend beyond the cone's scales, a signature three-pronged characteristic unique to the Douglas fir. There's a folklore story behind this one as to how the cone got its distinct look. As the story goes, a fire broke out in the forest and a mouse looking for refuge from the flames was searching for a hideout. He kept asking different trees for refuge and they all refused, till he asked one of the largest trees in the world, the Douglas fir. And the tree invited the mouse to come in and take shelter. It then went up the tree trunk and tucked itself inside one of the tree's cones. The mouse's hind legs and tail were still visible from beneath the cone's scales, and that's given the cones their signature three-pronged characteristic. Kind of a sweet story. We have so many of these folklores across the world. I'm sure there's some truth to them, right? Let's keep believing in the magic, and of course, let's not miss out the moral, the gist of the story. Helping and being kind to others makes you a legend and always leaves its mark. The majestic Douglas fir to date provides shelter for mice, porcupines, and owls, and many animals, some of which live their entire lives in the tree's canopy. You know what they say, to see one is to know one. That's what the mighty Douglas fir is. They are giants, growing 200 to 250 feet tall, even as high as 300 feet. It's the most iconic tree in Washington state. Their majestic canopy gives shelter to many animals and birds, and some are uniquely dependent on the Douglas fir. One of which is the northern spotted owl, which is listed as an endangered species. The interconnectedness in nature is unparalleled, and the ecosystem that coexists together. Fascinating. We learnt about the Douglas fir when we moved to Washington state. And come Christmas time, we bring one of them into our homes as our Christmas tree. And hold on, not the fully grown tree. It's the baby tree, which may be 5 to 7 year old, from a local farm which does this ethical and responsible farming. The smell of the pine needles and the presence of the tree in our living space transforms our home and brings the magic of holidays right inside. All this talk about patterns and self-similarity, that's what fractals are. But when you think of it, we create these patterns in our lives too. And the challenging thing is that we create patterns of the difficult and sad times more often than the happy and fun ones. It seems like a tough cycle to break. And that brings me to JOMO, the opposite of FOMO, acronyms that are used frequently. FOMO is the fear of missing out, and its opposite is JOMO, the joy of missing out. FOMO literally means when one feels apprehension that stems from not being in the know or missing out on information or experiences of events. It can generate major anxiety, is considered a type of problematic attachment to social media. It was first coined in 2004 and made it to the dictionary by 2013. One feels a deep sense of missing out and then a deep compulsion to maintain the social connections because of the fear of missing out. FOMO can also create negative effects on physical well-being, anxiety, lack of sleep, and the fear of social exclusion. Mavericks, let's be aware of the phenomena of FOMO. I believe being aware is the first step to countering anything. In contrast, JOMO is the joy of missing out. It's about enjoying what you're doing in each moment without worrying about what everyone else is doing. It's about being intentional, about switching off from social media and not constantly trying to keep up with what everyone else is doing. The holidays gives us the perfect time to practice JOMO. JOMO spelt as JOMO. We had family over to our place for the holidays, and believe you me, we had JOMO right there. We planned outings, had a great family cookout fiesta, very deliberate and intentional family time together. And the best part, along with JOMO, we created some very special memories. Fellow Mavericks, fractals are fascinating and gives us insight into systems and patterns. But, and here's the big but, do not create patterns of discontent, of anxiety, negativity. Break them. Embrace JOMO and experience the joy of life, of authenticity, and truly doing what you value and love. It's the Maverick formula. Remember the component of being true? This holiday season, I wish all my fellow Mavericks JOMO, the joy of missing out. I would love to hear your thoughts on fractals and JOMO. What did you choose for practicing JOMO? Let us know. Write to me at theordinarymaverick@gmail.com and follow me on Instagram, #TheOrdinaryMaverick. I love hearing from you. As a new feature here on, we will share your stories in upcoming podcasts. This is Ajay signing off and wishing you have an amazing day. Have a great 2026. Keep well, stay safe. Credits. This podcast series was put together as a team effort from the Bhardwaj family. Concept, design, title, researchers and reviewers Sanjana, Ajay, Avantika and Niharika Bhardwaj. Script, Sanjana. Cover design, Niharika. All rights reserved.